Thank you. Today being August 1st, 2024, we will hear case number MI 2024-004-822 for 6800 Essington Avenue. Gentlemen, if everyone that is going to provide testimony today on the appellate side, please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony that you are about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Additionally, we are going to swear in Mr. Alan Fody from PWD, who will be filling in as our PWD representative today. Alan, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Now, gentlemen, if you could proceed with identifying yourself individually for the court reporter, please.
Eric Pangle, Camburus & Theodore Architects.
Peter Theodore, Camburus & Theodore Architects.
Anthony Bruno, Camburus & Theodore Architects.
Thank you, gentlemen. Board members, prior to today, has any board member discussed any information in whole or in part with the appellate or anyone directly or indirectly involved with this case? Mike Bellata?
No.
Dave Hoffmeister?
No.
Brian Gilbert?
No.
Mike Ingram?
No.
Patrick McDonald?
No.
Sarah Poindexter?
No.
And outside of staff, the chair has not had any direct communications with anybody. All right, with that dispensed of, gentlemen, good morning and welcome, and thanks for coming to see us. I would like to explain a little bit of how we're going to conduct our hearing this morning. My name is Walt Krasnowski. I'm the chairman of the Plumbing Advisory Board, and the way we conduct our virtual hearings is as follows. We will afford you gentlemen as much time as you need to explain the nature of your request, the technical background supporting your request, and any other comments that you would choose to make. When you have completed that, I will then call on the board members individually to ask you follow-up questions or cross-examine whatever they feel is appropriate. Once that has been completed, we will afford you time should you have any closing remarks. When that has been completed, we will place you back into a waiting room. We will then proceed to go off record and deliberate and discuss the case. When that has been completed, the board will come back, we will go back on record, and we will proceed to ask for a motion and a vote on the variance request. Do you gentlemen understand the procedure? Do you have any questions on the way we're going to be proceeding today?
No, makes sense.
Great. All right, so with that, by all means, whoever would like to go first, please proceed with your case.
Sure. Walt, as far as what our scope on the project was, do you want me to go back to the very beginning from when the landlord was involved with the project, or what stage should I start the background for this project for you?
Well, I would say because of the complexity of the case itself and the complexities around the request and everything else, I think it would probably, in the interest of time, I know it's going to be long, but I believe you probably should start from the very beginning.
Okay. All right. So we were brought on to this project with Penske Truck Leasing to perform a build-out design for a truck leasing shop. The landlord had a project prior to us. They did the interior demolition of the existing building that was built in 1950. It's a slab-on-grade CMU building. So they cleared everything out. They did the site improvements, all the storm detention, all the engineering associated with that. It went through review permits. Because we are in a floodplain, they put rain gardens and continuous trench drains around the building. So they completed their permits, the work of their permits, had closeout, and then we started our part of the project. As we went through the project, we went through the building department just for the interior build out. We got approval for everything, started construction. As we were going through construction, an inspector asked where our flood proofing design documents were, and that we would be required to go down that path to improve the building. Once we determined what the requirements were going to be, we determined that we were going to go through a dry flood proofing system, installing panels, raising the one of the doors for egress, providing stairs and a ramp to make sure we complied with ADA, raised all the mechanical equipment on housekeeping pads, raised all the electrical up to get out of the floodplain zone. So everything associated with the build out of the building, we took into account to make sure that we complied with everything. Because this was a slab on grade, some of the final review comments in dealing with the flood design team indicated that we would need sump pumps for this building, or a drainage system, because it's a structural slab on grade. It's 10 inches thick of concrete with 2.5 inch diameter reinforcing. It wasn't feasible to do a perimeter drain tile system for the building. So to meet the intent of the code, we were proposing 4 sump pumps around the perimeter of the building. And those sump pumps have battery backup. Last week, we had a hearing to get that approved. And then the last part of the approval is to approve discharging the water out to the storm collection system surrounding the building. And that's what we're going to be presenting today. So I have documents from the landlord for the civil plans that they went and constructed. So we're going to start off with the perimeter. So this is the entire site. If you zoom in on the building, Anthony, yeah, that. So the building is where the mouse is. To the north and to the west are continuous trench drains. Those trench drains discharge into a rain garden on the east side of the building, and then a rain garden on the south side of the building. You can see the rain garden on the east has an inlet at the south end that will go into a discharge pipe. That discharge pipe runs down the site and continues along to discharge out to the public way. There's a second discharge line at the west side of the rain garden that also ties into that line for a continuation. If you go to the floor plan.
And we're going to show them the battens as well, right? You're going to show them the whole system?
Yeah.
And
so the building itself, this is the same configuration. There's 4 sump pumps being presented. There's 2 down on the south side, 1 on the north side, and then the 4th one down on the west side. So we're proposing to discharge those lines at 36 inches above grade. We've got 24 inches of protection for the panel system around all the door openings.
can we show them that? And we're talking about 3 inches of water, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the other part, I just want to jump in. As you can see, the panels around the doors are raising our elevation approximately 21 inches.
Yeah, 21 inches was the requirement. The panels are 24 inches tall for protection.
We are, in the worst case scenario, we're looking at 3 inches of water on the floor. As Eric alluded to, that water is going to be conveyed to the rain gardens. But more importantly, we are going above and beyond to provide a system at hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cost to protect for a much higher elevation. And I wanted to show these photographs, but again, we're talking about 3 inches of water. As Eric alluded to, anything inside the facility that could possibly be damaged has been eliminated. So we're not looking to have any equipment or anything of any value on the floor. But I just, again, I want to have that context of 3 inches of water on an existing slab and the measures that we're taking to protect our facility and meet the intent of your ordinance. We've also been working with staff for over 6 months.
Yeah, over 6 months.
Over 6 months, we've had literally dozens of reviews. It's Penske Automotive. Penske Automotive always does the right thing. As you know, we're going to be employing 60 people at this facility. Right now, those people are essentially sitting at home while we go through this process. But we've had very favorable feedback from staff. As Eric said last week, we got approval for the battery discharge in lieu of a permanent generator. And today we're hoping that as you look at just the extent that we've gone to, that for our conveyance of the water, there's no other practical place to take that water. We're essentially conveying that water back into the rain gardens. We're not hooking up to the storm sewer. Hooking up to the storm sewer would only put more burden on the storm sewer and also put us in a situation where if the area is flooding and the storm sewer is surcharged, we're adding to that. We're basically creating a worse situation for the water that's already conveyed in that pipe. So by discharging into the rain gardens and letting that water find its way to the sewer, we feel that, and again, we've done this in concert with staff, this is the most practical and logical way to do it. And this is kind of a brief overview of everything. As Eric said, I mean, we've even added stairs and ramps to raise our elevations and to deal with an issue that is pretty minor in our world. 3 inches of water. We're not talking about surcharging this building with a foot of water, 2 feet of water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as you can see here, the existing roof drains are also splashing onto grade going into those rain gardens. So the intent of the design for this site, we're not doing anything unique is what we're proposing.
And that pretty much summarizes our review where we're at today. And we're hoping that, we will get your approval and we can move forward and we can occupy the building and bring back those jobs that are missing right now.
Yeah, we've closed out all of the inspections for approval. We just can't get a C of O until the blessing for all the flood protection is in place. This is the last piece we need to get final approvals. At this point, or after the approval, we would then install the sump pump systems and then call for inspections and ask for a certificate of occupancy so we can open the facility.
And that concludes our presentation.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much. And we're going to proceed with the board members now asking you some questions, starting with me. And the biggest question I have is, now that you have that particular photograph up, the K-gutters and downspouts that are currently draining the roof, was that there prior to you gentlemen proceeding with your scope?
Yes, we've not touched anything outside of the building except raising that door and adding the stairs.
Because we're going to have to look further into that, because a variance would have to have been approved for that method of drainage, but that's for a question for another day. All right, so you mentioned the 4 locations. Now, the discharge of the 4 locations, um, do these discharges go to pervious or impervious areas?
They go to the rain gardens.
Both. Two sides of the building have concrete and asphalt. 2 sides of the building are the rain gardens.
Okay, so two go to pervious, and 2 go to impervious.
And where we have the impervious, that's where we've got the continuous trench drains that would collect that water.
Okay. You have a freeze concern with the discharge going to the impervious areas.
If there was flooding occurring, that wouldn't be frozen at that time. We would be discharging back into that same water that would be there. It's all seepage that we're contending with. So we'd be putting the water back to where it came from.
Okay. Are the pumps already installed?
No, we're waiting for final approval to start this work.
Okay. All right. Answered some more of my questions with, my last question, could you go to your photograph number 5? That one there.
Yes.
Them 2 10-inch lines that are exiting the building there, PVC with PVC 90s. What are they?
They're roof drains for this side of the building that tie into an underground system. Anthony can go to the drawing 2. That diagonal line off the northwest corner, that's that storm line. It's a 15-inch line extending off the corner of the building that discharges out. If you follow that line down, it ties into the same storm line that is routing down the property.
That was an existing.
And this is all an existing condition.
And that's directly connected to the public system.
As it continues west, yes.
Okay. And this is a little off topic of the primary request, but the roof drainage inside, because it's exiting the building. First of all, it's not exiting the building below the 36 inches required depth, and it's exiting the building in non-metallic piping. Would you have knowledge if the storm drainage inside the building was metallic or non-metallic?
I would have to look into my photographs to confirm what that material was.
Okay. All right. Okay, fair enough. So the 2 discharges. All right. Gentlemen, thank you. That's all the questions I have for this particular point. I am now going to turn the floor over to Board Member Sarah Poindexter.
Swalt, good morning. Excuse me. I'm a little unfamiliar with this type of flood proofing system, and you've probably answered this question, but if you wouldn't mind letting me know just how are these pumps fed? So you're showing that are these pumps actually pumping groundwater seepage, or is it runoff that's going towards the building that it's capturing?
No, we perform calculations based on 21 inches of water surrounding the building and what the seepage rate would be. So we designed the sump pump system to deal with any of that seepage coming into the building. We were going to depress the top of the grate an inch to make sure that we have a low point. The floor is flat. And we've got it around the exterior perimeter where you would be getting an infiltration.
Okay, so you have your groundwater table, your normal groundwater table, and then you're predicting your kind of high groundwater table based on these large storm events, and that's
Right.
how you're coming up with the flow rate into
Yeah,
the system?
we use the control joints and the seepage rate for that going through the concrete block walls. You know, those are all part of the calculations that were generated.
Okay,
And
so the pumps click on during the high, you know, stormwater event. Those then that discharges onto the impervious surface next to those trench. The trench drains pick up that discharge, carry it to the rain gardens.
Right.
And then I think I saw there's a pump on the discharge of the rain garden. Is that correct? So there's a second pump.
there's basins that are at the end of the rain garden that would tie in. I don't believe that there is a pump that is part of that system.
If you look at that kind of triangle from on the rain garden on the right-hand side of the sheet, it looks like there's like a wet well there, proposed 8-inch PVC wet well and a force main.
The pictures I have does not show that pump there. It shows the inlet and the basin as it continues southwest. But I've not seen that second basin with any pump for that.
You mean constructed?
Correct. These are the documents the landlord provided us early on when we first got involved with the project.
Okay, so the way you understand the system to work is that the trenches would go to the rain garden would fill up, enter the inlet, and then be carried out through those series of stormwater pipes out to the right of way. Is that
Correct. All is a gravity system, correct?
As just a purely gravity system is your understanding. Okay.
Right.
Correct.
And so I'm assuming that this system was, you know, obviously constructed under a PWD stormwater permit.
That I had no involvement with. We inherited these drawings, so I don't know all the steps that the landlord went through for approvals and construction.
Okay. Well, I think with this system, you would be adding additional flow. I'm just wondering if this has been resubmitted through the water department for analysis.
Not by us.
Okay. And my last question is, are you aware of any groundwater contamination on this site?
I am not, no.
Okay.
And Sarah, to go back again, we're talking about a very small amount of water. We're not talking about an excessive amount of water. We're talking about literally 3 inches of water.
3 inches of water over how much area?
Well, that's the elevation. We're below the floodplain. When we calculated for a 24-hour period, the seepage rate we have for the building, if we didn't get rid of it, would be 1/2 inch.
So what's the flow rate of the pumps?
They're excessively over designed. I don't have my mechanical engineer here this morning. I can get you that information. Which we have it in the go into the PDF of the BVS.
This one.
We have the plumbing schedule, and it's a different PDF from the other presentation.
If I may, the calculation appeared to indicate 5 GPM.
Oh, thank you.
Does it have a duration of pumping?
On the battery backup, I think it was over 5 days of pumping ability before the batteries would run out. It is a truck shop. The part of the service is replacing batteries, so there's plenty on hand.
Mm-hmm. Some
But
pump
to
discharge.
get to the heart of your question, we're designed to run for 5 days, and we also assured staff that we would have additional batteries on hand if after 5 days we were still deluged with water. So we think that we've met and exceeded that requirement.
Okay, but bottom line, we're sending a lot of water to these rain gardens.
Potentially.
Potentially. Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sarah. Mike Bellotta,
No questions.
Mike Ingram,
No questions.
Brian Gilbert.
Yes, I have a question. This facility is for Penske Truck Leasing, am I correct?
That is correct.
Is there maintenance done on site?
Yes.
So you're doing truck maintenance. Have you considered any system for oil interception or oil separation?
There's a unit inside the building. We do have an oil water separator. That's a separate system.
That's a separate system, but for these drains in a flood condition, it's reasonable to say that oil could get in these drains and you're going to spill it out to the rain garden, correct?
There's
Here are the low points.
I guess there would be a possibility. The basins are sealed on the top, so there's 2 floor drains inside the building. That's what we're dealing with for the oil water separator system. If you go back to that other BBS, and then go to the plumbing plan.
No, but I don't think there's any potential.
So if you can, there's a wash bay up at the top. Go up to the top of the page.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 floor drains there are the only inlets that feed into that oil water separator.
Okay, so hear me out. I'm seeing a flood in your building.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that flood is going to take up the entire footprint of your floor. When it reaches those drains, it's going to drain into the oil interceptor. The oil does float on top of the water. As that oil interceptor overflows, you could potentially be spilling the contents of the oil interceptor to your 4 sump points. That is a possibility. Am I wrong?
We're talking about a 1/2 inch of water.
We were just talking about 3 inches of water a minute ago.
Well,
yeah. Yes, that could be a possibility. Yes.
but even with 3 inches of water, your tires are sitting above the floor, and
No, it's this.
Yeah.
Let's see the backflow protection. I know on the discharge of this, there's protection, so it doesn't back up. I don't know how to.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, under worst case scenario, why would we ever be discharging oil? Like if we're doing
it's just
It's
what
the
would
point of an oil interceptor is to not
interceptor.
discharge
Yeah.
oil.
Right.
So
what
it's
would you
an emergency
suggest in this
situation.
case? What are you suggesting?
My suggestion would be something as simple as an oil minder type switch like you would use in an elevator sump pit on all your sump pumps. It would allow the pump to run with water and shut it off when oil. That would be my suggestion.
I think that's a good idea, and we'd be amenable to that. I mean, I just learned something new, so that would be great.
Okay, that is all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Patrick McDonald.
Yes, I have a couple questions. So we're talking about discarding the water that would be getting into the building in the case of anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 21 inches, I believe.
No, 3.
Per code, we calculated it for. We had to be 15 inches above the BFE. So all of our calculations are based on 21 inches.
Okay, so up to 3 inches. Now, when that water is discarded from the building, it's going in, as you gentlemen have said, it's going into the rain garden. However, if there's a flood in the area and the water has raised up to a certain level, it's going essentially back into the river.
Correct.
in my opinion, because it's going back out of the building into the flooded ground area. It's not specifically going into the rain garden, I believe. And that the second part of my question, and that's a question. The second part of that question is if it doesn't have, and if the rain garden doesn't have any exit for the water into the storm sewer in this case. If it did, it would be a problem because then all the river water would be going into the sewer. So I understand why it doesn't. But we're essentially pumping the water out of the building back into the river. Is that the way that you gentlemen see it?
I would say not into the river. We're putting it back on the site. It's water that would have infiltrated from the site into the building, and we're putting the water back to where it came from.
So Sarah mentioned before whether or asked the question whether you would consider this groundwater or stormwater. What would we be considering this? And I asked the board as well as you gentlemen. What are we considering this? Are we considering it flood water from the river, or are we considering it stormwater from essentially the sky? And there's a reason why I'm asking this, because we're not required, we're not permitted to allow for disbursement of water into a pervious area unless for commercial use. So I just want to make sure that we document what we're talking about here. What are you, as engineers, what are you considering this water?
It's clean seepage water is what we're qualifying it as. It's not necessarily rainwater.
And the trench drains, will they not be flooded at the same point that the building would be flooded? If the building is up a little further and with the blockages, would that area not be totally flooded outside at the same time?
It's likely that there's water that'll be on site. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to point out those things and ask those questions. That's the end of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Dave Hoffmeister?
Good morning. Can someone tell me when the building was built?
1950.
And just to confirm what Patrick was talking about, it's anticipated that the rain gardens would be flooded if there was water entering the building or seeping into the building?
Depending on, how much flooding the event would have, yes.
Has there been, to your knowledge, a previous flooding event inside this building?
As the 2+ years that I've been involved with this project, there has not been any issue.
And has there been any discussion or knowledge of flooding, say during the last hurricane we've had when there was flooding throughout the city?
We saw no evidence of staining on the walls or in the existing building that would indicate that they've ever had an issue.
Okay. And yeah, I was looking in the pictures to see.
Good question, though.
And were the calculations done for 3 inches of water? I'm going to ask the chairman if we could request a copy of those calculations be sent to us. So if you guys could email those calculations or how they get sent to us, could we take a look at those, please?
Absolutely. No problem.
Are there any hydrocarbon switches specified for the sump pumps that are on the drawings today?
No.
Dave, does that conclude your questions, or are you still?
Yeah, everyone's been asking questions, so most of mine have been answered.
Gentlemen, while Mr. Hoffmeister is looking at that, if you could send the information that he requested to Philmato, and Philmato will distribute it to the board, please.
Yes.
And one other clarification, what I missed it, and I apologize. What year did you indicate that the building was constructed?
1950.
1950?
Yes.
Could you pull up picture number 8, please? Can you identify that pipe that's coming out of the ground? Or is it discharging to the ground, or is it coming out of the ground?
I would have to investigate it. And with some other pictures, I don't know the answer to that.
Can you zoom in on that fitting? Is it coming out of the ground, or is it discharging?
That's an existing condition.
Yeah, it's an existing condition.
Right.
Yeah, I'd have to investigate what that line is for.
Well, based on the unistrut, it's obviously a newer pipe, so we would need to understand that.
And then I'm going to ask you to go to the BBS drawings combined. So I'm looking at page 2 of 4. All the doors would have panels.
All the doors, but the one that we added the stair.
And the ramp, okay. And then there's a coming back down.
The picture with the ports.
Yeah, we had the panels installed last month, and
those are portable.
Yeah, they're portable. Correct. We have the storage inside the building.
Right.
We've got operation manual of when they need to be implemented, and all the people that are responsible to put that in motion.
Right. So just to reiterate, with the trench drains around the building, which are basically the same as I would assume, or close to the same as the finished floor elevation, and with the panels up, again, the assumption is that the floodwater elevation would be above the trench drain elevations, thus it was seeping into the building. So we would be discharging basically back out of the building into floodwater.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay. Walt, I have no further questions.
Thanks, Dave. Michelle Brisbane?
Walt, I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Shane McNulty?
No questions.
Okay. Alan?
I do not have any questions.
Okay, great. Okay, if we can take the shared screen off, please. Great, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for answering the board's questions. Again, this case is just a little bit complex. Do you have anything else to add before we enter into deliberations?
No, I think you've asked some great questions. This has been a learning experience for all of us. I live in Florida, and I'm very well versed in hurricane and flood. I think that the amount of seepage that we're talking about, we've made every stride to work in conjunction with the city, with your engineers. We spent a lot of money putting a lot of systems in place. We know it's not a perfect solution, but given the existing conditions, we think it's a really good solution. Penske always does the right thing. I think that of all our clients, Penske is probably, superior to a lot of people. We don't take any shortcuts. What I learned today about putting some extra belts and suspenders onto the sump pits to make sure we're not conveying oil and other things into the rain gardens are taken to heart, and absolutely will follow your recommendations. We sincerely hope that we can move this ball forward so that the money that we spent thus far is put to good use and that we can get 60 employees back into this facility and start providing the goods and services to the community. Everybody has been great. It's been an educational process. I know today, as you go through this, the questions you're asking are the same questions we were asking, because it's kind of hard to get your hands around taking water from the building, dumping it back onto water that's trying to get back into the building. It seems like a losing battle no matter what you do. But I think when you step back and look at that, you know, we have all these battens up and that we're basically creating an enclosure around our building to slow it down. I think the way the system ultimately works is that you're never going to defeat gravity, right? The water's always going to try to get in. But if we can stall that movement with our barriers, slow the seepage in, and not necessarily overburden the sewer system, but throw the water on the ground and delay that long enough for the floodwaters to subside, then we buy ourselves some time. What I would ask you to consider also, and I kind of always go back and put this in context, is there's a big difference between a couple inches of water and a couple feet of water. And when we look at it from that perspective, I don't think the consequences are nearly as bad as if we were saying we were 2 feet below the floodplain. You know, being below the floodplain is an issue, whether it's an inch or 2 feet, but I want you to contextually look at that. And with that said, you guys have been great. The engineers have been great. All the calculations that you see have been a cooperation between the planners and engineers. We didn't arrive at those solutions by ourselves. And even the battens that you saw on the wall were done in conjunction with the engineers. So we haven't done anything unilaterally on our own. We've worked with the best of intent with everybody. So with that, I'll conclude and say, you know, thank you very much for making time for us today. And we look forward to your conclusion.
Well, thank you. And I do have a couple comments and follow-up questions, if I may.
Sure.
You continue to say the seepage water is going to be minimal.
Yes.
However, you're talking 3 inches of water. I think what everybody's losing sight of, it's 3 inches of water over the total area of the footprint of that building. So, you know, just to put it in context, we are potentially talking about a fair volume of water, correct?
Yeah, well, the 3 inches is the elevation. We are below the floodplain. With the protection in place, the seepage rate for the building per our calculations is ½ an inch in a 24-hour period.
Yeah, and I apologize. I should have explained that. So I'm sorry.
Fine. And a question that I have, just looking at this and considering your information that you provided, the two sump pumps that are discharging to impervious areas, would you or have you considered tying them two sump pumps into the roof drainage discharge for that side of the building, which drains to the 15-inch pipe that you talked about, which ultimately drains to the public sewer?
Yeah, we did consider that. The concern we had was if there's a flooding event happening, that storm system's it's going to be full. It's not going to take water. So the water that we're trying to mitigate to get out of our building, it's not going to have any place to go.
That's a fair assessment. That said, has there been consideration given to taking them to pump discharges and taking them to the other side of the building and discharging them into the rain garden? Now, I completely understand what you're saying, that in an event where these pumps are going to be utilized, there's going to be a lot of water on the ground already. But the code and this board always takes into consideration spilling water onto grade, especially in a freeze condition. And I understand, I completely hear, I think the whole board hears that in the event that this system is utilized, there's going to be a lot of water anyway. But, you know, I'm just trying to look ahead. have you considered possibly taking them instead of to the impervious area, out to the rain garden?
We felt with the routing, the way the trench drains work and they discharge into those rain gardens, we are meeting that requirement.
Okay.
But let me ask this question, what type of distance are we looking at to run those drains to the rain garden? I think your point's a valid one. What I want to look at right now is, what kind of distance and how we get it there. Is it possible, Eric?
But yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's just a matter of routing lines to essentially get to that rain garden.
So certainly your pump could have enough head to get to, let's say, the bar joists, and then from the bar joists it can run gravitational down that side of the building out to the side and discharge.
The head, I think, is for 15 feet, so we would have to select different pumps to go up to that height. But it is a possibility, yes.
Okay.
And then if we did that route, we would be able to then drop the discharge line down the outside of the building, similar to a gutter condition, is what you're considering?
That is a possibility. You would certainly have to provide drawings to the department for proper plan review, but that certainly is a possibility.
Okay.
All right, that's the only follow-up questions I got. Do any other board members have any follow-up questions?
I do.
Okay, Brian, please.
So in your detail here, you're showing PVC pipe as your discharge. You are aware that non-metallic pipe is not allowed in a non-residential, in a commercial building?
We can change that to cast iron or copper.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point that Mr. Gilbert had. That probably more than likely will get picked up under plan review, that the materials are not consistent with the code. Any other board members? Any follow-ups? Hearing none. Again, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your presentation and answering our questions. We're going to place you back into the waiting room while we deliberate. And Mr. Kelly, could you please show us off record?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Today being August 1st, 2024, we continue to hear case number MI 2024-004-822 for 6800 Essington Avenue. Board, what say you?
Well, I'd like to make an motion to approve with the following provisions, if you'd be so kind to read them aloud.
Provision stated. Provision number 1. Hydrocarbon safety switches will be installed on all 4 sump pumps. Provision number 2. The proper material for the sump pumps and discharge piping shall be consistent with the material requirements listed in the 2018 Philadelphia Plumbing Code. Provision number 3. Backwater valves shall be provided and installed on the sanitary connections leading to the oil separators. Appellates, do you understand the provisions and the request, and do you agree with these provisions?
Yes,
we understand them.
We do, and we think those are good recommendations. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I second it, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded by Brian. Motion on the floor and seconded to approve the variance with the conditions stated.
Make a note. Yeah, put that on the board. So I give that to you.
Miss Walt.
Yes.
Just I don't know if that was
for Monday.
Sorry, I don't know if that was a poor choice of words, but the applicant used the word recommendation. Just not a recommendation.
Thank you for clarifying. Appellates, gentlemen, these are provisions for approval. You agree to abide by?
Yes, we agree. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Shane. There's a motion on the floor and seconded to approve with the provisions stated. Vote to approve. Mike Bellata,
Approve.
Mike Ingram,
Approve.
Patrick McDonald,
Approved.
David Hoffmeister,
Approve.
Brian Gilbert,
Approve.
Sarah Poindexter,
Approved.
and the chair votes. Mike Ingram, please mute thank you. And the chair votes in the affirmative. Gentlemen, your appeal has been approved with the stated provisions. The board would like to bring up to you one important aspect. First, we'd like to thank you for your patience. Obviously, this is a little bit of a complex issue, and we wanted to make sure that we get it right. But the board wants to caution you that, in the board's opinion, there are additional reviews and additional permits required by at least PWD. And we would caution you to consult with either PWD or L&I or both to make sure that them subsequent approvals are met. You understand that?
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Is there any information you can give us regarding that? Is
That's all on your website to be able to get the links to chase that down, correct?
Alan, would you have some guidance for the appellates of to who they could contact the PWD?
You can contact me and I will connect you to stormwater and industrial waste.
Okay, that being said, gentlemen, Alan's email is alan.fody@phila.gov.
Okay.
And Shane McNulty at L&I's email is Shane, SHANE .McNulty at phila.gov. What we are trying to do is to steer you in the right direction so that you don't get caught up in any future approvals that you may need.
I appreciate that, Walt. A question I have for you is, do you think that they'll expedite this given the reviews we've had previously? Is there any help or guidance you can give us to make sure that this doesn't become like a 6-month-long process with them? Any just suggestions?
So based on our approval today, that will satisfy L&I's refusal. But what we're cautioning you is not to proceed forward, even with the L&I approval,
Gotcha.
until you're cleared through at minimum PWD.
Okay, that's great advice. Okay.
All right. Do you have any other questions for the board?
No, I just, on behalf of Penske and our firm, I want to thank you. I know there's 60 people that are eager to get back to work. And you guys have been really great. Truly, you've been respectful and cooperative. You've educated all of us. I think you're doing a phenomenal job. So thank you for working with us. Your recommendations were very reasonable. And again, I speak on behalf of Roger Penske's crew. Thank you.
We appreciate. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please continue.
I would like to add, as far as the workflow goes, will I be getting an email copy of the requirements, and then as I revise the drawings to get that back into the building department, is that what I should expect, or okay?
The process now, sir, is our recommendation goes to the Commissioner of L&I. The Commissioner of L&I will presumably sign off on that. You will be getting a letter from L&I department staff indicating that and the provision stated, and based on that, you can then go back for your other approvals.
Okay.
That usually happens. Staff is usually pretty good with that. that usually happens within about a week or so.
Beautiful.
Okay.
And thank you for your comments and your kind words regarding the board. Again, we appreciate you bearing with us. Again, we strive as a board, to take everything into consideration and, do the best we can and still remain within the spirit of the code, but we appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
All right, with that, case number MI 2024-004-822 is hereby concluded. Mr. Kelly, you can show us off record, please.